Hi YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. So today we're going to be reviewing the finale of The Glory Season 2. I did part 1 of Season 2, but this video is just to encapsulate the ending. By now everybody's probably seen the ending, so no big spoilers. The last 3 episodes is basically Moon Dong-hoon putting the ending to her revenge. Her mother, she managed to manipulate her mother and capturing on video that her mother is crazy. She managed to institute her mother into a mental institute or asylum, whatever word you would like to say it that way. And Moon Dong-hoon with do-yeong, they've managed to buy the building where they're holding Sung-hoon's body, in which we find out that the police officer that's been helping Park Hyun kept the body as an insurance policy, so when things get a little bit dicey or the end in which he's gonna get implicated, he'll use that body as a ransom or a reward for him to get money out of Park Hyun and her mother. So the basic thing for episode 6 to 8 of the finale, do-yeong and Moon Dong-hoon, they managed to put the evidence of the DNA trace of Park Hyun, because when Park Hyun was getting a treatment for do-yeong, because since he's a plastic surgeon, they went and sedated her, and do-yeong went and got where the scratch on the Park Hyun's foot was, where Moon-young went and scratched her, because we know that Park Hyun confronted Sung Moon-young and attacked him when he said he was going to expose the fact that Park Hyun killed So-hee. So there was that struggle. Park Hyun went and bashed the guy 2 times with the champagne bottle. So Moon Dong-hoon and do-yeong, they managed to put that evidence there, and they dumped the body of Sung Moon-young for everybody to see, and now the police is closing in. Towards the end, Moon Dong-hoon finds out that So-hee's body, in which Soo-hee's mother, the one that's dead, didn't want to have it consent to a funeral because that would end the investigation. So that was racking up money in the hospital, but do-yeong's mother went and kept the body in the freezer as how her previous late husband did. Moon Dong-hoon was going to pay off the fee for holding Soo-hee's body, and she finds out that do-yeong went and paid the money, and he did this way before they met again on the train. I'm gonna stop here for that bit. And the other important part of this last couple of episodes that Moon Dong-hoon managed to help Miss Kang, the maid that was helping her, in basically orchestrating the murder of Miss Kang's abusive husband, in which indirectly Miss Kang went and showed her abusive husband that she got paid off X amount of money to start sending text messages to Park Hyun's mother. The greedy bastard that he is, he takes the phone and starts sending all these messages, and Miss Khan goes and tells her husband, but she went and this person murdered another person, so it's not just one, there was a murder of 2 people, and this turns Miss Khan's husband's, greedy mind more afloat. So we get the scenes that Park Hyun's mother gets stalked by Miss Khan's husband, so we see the paranoia there. So Park Hyun's mother has had enough. We see in the other episodes that Park Hyun's mother is not obsessed with this shaman woman, but we find out that the shaman woman on the side is kind of like a gang, a hitman. So Park Hyun's mother goes and tells the shaman to arrange the murder of Miss Khan's husband, because Miss Khan's husband goes and blackmails Park Hyun's mother to say, give me X amount of money and I'll be quiet. So the murder gets arranged by hit and run, in which coincidentally Park Hyun's mother and the shady police guy is there in the car, and on that moment when Miss Khan's husband picks up this supposed bag of money, he falls over a bridge onto Park Hyun's mother's car. So she gets implicated in that murder of the hit and run, and Miss Khan, as part of the plan, she knew this, there was a plan between Moon Dong-hoon and Miss Khan, that Miss Khan doesn't settle to get money for her husband's murder. Instead, there's a funeral scene in which Miss Khan is finally free of her domestic violent husband. So we get that scene of the resolution for Miss Khan, and of course Miss Khan finally realizing she's free of her husband to do what she wants to do. So the other part that's the hidden champion in this series is Mr. Ha, the contractor who's part of a Chernobyl family. And he knows that his daughter Yesul is not his, but he doesn't care. He's putting his plans into motion to save his daughter for intensive purposes, and he finally sees the monster that his wife is, in which he sees his wife going to the police station, confronting Miss Khan, forcing her to settle with her mom, and Park Hyun threatening Miss Khan's daughter, in which in that moment, the plan's already done, so Miss Khan doesn't hesitate to slap Park Hyun twice to tell her how dare she threaten another person's child. And Miss Khan tells Park Hyun, aren't you a mother too? And Mr. Ha is witness to all of that with the henchman of the shady police guy. And in that moment, Mr. Ha tells his wife, you have two choices. Go to the family of the deceased or So-hee and apologize, accept your punishment, or our relationship ends there. But Park Hyun, defiant to the end, let's say, defiant to the end, she tears up the paper and she says, our relationship ended when you met with Moon Dong-eun. And Mr. Ha has no hesitation as to say, okay, I'm gonna have to do what I'm gonna have to do. He's divorcing his wife. So we see from episode 78 the complete destruction of Park Hyun, her image gone completely, everybody now hearing the news. And on top of it off, the preacher's daughter, the druggie, she had saved on her old mobile phone footage as them as teenagers bullying So-hee, and she uploads that as revenge. Right now the drug addict, she's completely, off her head. She's gone nuts, let's say. She doesn't care anymore. She says if she's going to go down, she won't be the only one. She's going to take everybody down with her. And that's what ultimately happens. So the next step for the plan for Moon Dong-eun, she goes and talks with Park Hyun's mother and says, look, you're gonna be up for manslaughter charges of killing Miss Khan's husband. I know you have the name tag, give it to me. And Park Hyun's mother is shocked, and Moon Dong-eun says, let's pretend that you find this decision hard, because I can see the psychology and the reasoning here is the classic trope of the bullies bullying other people because of their upbringing. And we can see Park Hyun's mother is another piece of work. It's not a big surprise why this character Park Hyun came out the way that she did. It doesn't excuse the behavior by all means, but you can understand where it came from. So Park Hyun was basically created by her mother to become a monster, and that's ultimately what she became. And the other bit that was interesting to find out that the reason that Park Hyun had a confrontation with So-hee, because coincidentally they were wearing the same dress and Park Hyun kind of got humiliated. Just insane reasons to go and terrorize another person. And so Moon Dong-eun gets that sweet revenge of having a plan to meet Park Hyun's mother and texting Park Hyun, I have the evidence, come meet me in so-and-so place. And as where Park Hyun's mother is giving the name tag to Moon Dong-eun, Park Hyun walks in and Moon Dong-eun, says with all the passion and fury in her eyes and says, now I can show you that you also as well are betrayed by your own parent. And she goes and repeats to Park Hyun what was told to her, that parents can hurt the children the worst. So the complete destruction of Park Hyun is there. And we can see Park Hyun crying to her mother, pleading, why the hell did she did that? In that moment is when I could truly see how she became the way she did. And after that footage got released, Park Hyun has the audacity to go out through the media dressed in black, saying that yes, I did bully her, but it wasn't the way that it was made out to be. It was like I was immature and that kind of stuff. We were friends. And then Park Hyun has the audacity to reveal to everybody that So-hee was pregnant. But we end up finding out that the child of So-hee was Jae-jun, the guy who colored blindness. What a pig. Because Jae-jun confronts do-yeong, saying, I know you're working with Moon Dong-eun, and starts asking certain questions regarding So-hee, because he knows that do-yeong's parents own the hospital, and he goes and says, okay, what happens if you do the autopsy with the dead fetus or what's inside is still remaining of So-hee will come out. And that's where do-yeong realizes that Moon Dong-eun initially thought that So-myung was the one that got So-hee pregnant, but it turned out to be Jae-jun. So they used that as an advantage. So they have the funeral for Sung-myung as they found the body that was disposed, and they're taking the DNA analysis. The police in this series has been very coincidental, more like minor. They realized that the DNA matches the DNA they found on the light on the roof when So-hee got murdered. So they are looking for the connection there. And of course as well, the whole group goes to Sung Yoon's funeral, and the air hostess lady of Hae-hyung. I can't sometimes have trouble remembering the Korean names, so you do remember the vital people, but the other side characters don't remember that much. She ends up finding the iPad tablet of when Park Hyun confronted Sung Young in the changing room. So she has that piece of evidence. And Jae-jung is thinking, oh, that this air hostess can maybe be my child's mother, because Jae-jung is still insistent of trying to get Yesul as a daughter, which doesn't work out. So during the wake scene where they're mourning Sung Young, like the preacher's daughter's there, the air hostess is there, and Jae-jung, and they're all squabbling about who posted the video. And the preacher's daughter goes and insults the air hostess yet again, and the air hostess has no shame, sending everybody the explicit video that the preacher's daughter did. And there's that struggle, and the preacher's daughter goes and stabs the air hostess in the neck with the pencil that she has tied up her hair. So that's the completion of these both characters. The air hostess ends up gets her vocal cords damaged. She can no longer speak. Very prophetic, because she was notorious for laughing at other people's pain. And the preacher's daughter, arrested for sure. And Jae-jung there goes and basically tells the air hostess, okay, I don't need you anymore since you can't speak, and leaves her there in the dust. And I don't want to say cruel end, all of them deserved what they got. That Moon Dong-eun goes and tells the air hostess in the hospital, you want your revenge, don't you? Just drop in the steroid drops into Jae-jung's kind of eye drops, because he has glaucoma, he has, problems with his eyes, and that's what she does. In episode 8, we finally get revealed why do-yeong did the things that he did. When he initially met Moon Dong-eun in the hospital and both of them were injured, he went and followed Moon Dong-eun and discovered the connection of So-hee's body with Moon Dong-eun, and decided that he wanted to help her from that point. Also, do-yeong from episode 7 to 8, we can see his own struggles, because we find out the full extent of what happened to his father. His father went and treated this psychopath, this killer, even though nobody else would, because of his ethics, that if this serial killer is not going to be treated in another hospital, what will happen to him? But as do-yeong's father was treating the serial killer, one of the attendees asked him, oh, your son's coming. And his father goes and says, oh, tell him not to come, and also tell him not to eat ramen, because I know that that's the only thing he'll eat. And that moment is when apparently it gets explained that the serial killer found that insulting, that while he was treating him, that he was thinking about his son. And when do-yeong has like that confrontation in the prison, when he talks to him, he goes and says, that's the reason why I killed your father, because I wanted you to see him as I murdered him. In episode 8, we get revealed the full fury and the anger that do-yeong has against the killer, that even though he has life in prison, he doesn't feel any pain or shame, or doesn't even feel hurt of the things that he did. And I guess that was one of the reasons why do-yeong was so obsessed, or so there wanting to help Moon Dong-eun. And he goes and confesses to Moon Dong-eun, it didn't matter to me that you're using me. The only thing I wanted to do was to be there for you. And Moon Dong-eun in that moment says, okay, let's do this to the end. And do-yeong tells Moon Dong-eun, the next time you leave me, it won't be for revenge, it'll be for love. So Park Hyun's downfall happens. They manage to match the DNA from the first murder of So-hee to Sung Min-young to Park Hyun, and she gets arrested, and her downfall is there. We find out that what really happened to Sung Min-young, that he was critically injured, but the other victim in this case, the one that's helping everyone, like the Park Hyun, that was also the victim after Moon Dong-eun, she was sleeping in the closet in the dressing room. She had this little room. When I saw her, I was thinking, my god, this is just slavery. What kind of psychopath to leave the worker sleeping basically in the shoebox, similar to Harry Potter, for Christ's sake. And when she came out to see after the commotion that Sung Min-young was there lying on the floor bleeding out, he started to grab on her, forcing her to help her. And then we find out that Sung Min-young went and assaulted this woman, essay as they say. And clearly this woman got traumatized and gave Sung Min-young the finishing blow. And Sung-hoon dies. He ends up having the finishing blow, but either way, in Moon Dong-eun's eyes, Park Yoo-jin will be the murderer. Because this girl, what we find out, was friends with Moon Dong-eun in high school, but after the bullying started in Moon Dong-eun, this girl went and abandoned her because she didn't want to get bullied too. But inadvertently, she goes and asks Moon Dong-eun for help, in which she does, and Moon Dong-eun tells this girl, don't be sad anymore. Come out from that hallway as a symbolism. And the girl goes and says, what about the bottle and the murder weapon? And Moon Dong-eun says that no matter what happens, Park Yoo-jin will be the murderer. And the girl goes and says to Moon Dong-eun, thank you. And Moon Dong-eun says, don't thank me. Only, she grabs the champagne bottle and says, you're gonna have to carry the weight of this for the rest of your life. So they have that reconciliation scene. Okay, so ultimately, everybody has disappeared. Park Yoo-jin's in prison, Park Yoo-jin's mother's in the prison. The air hostess is now, she's permanently damaged in the throat. And we have this cute scene where Moon Dong-eun and do-yeong have a date scene in the winter, drinking beer by the pair. And then as everything was going nice, do-yeong goes and buys more beers and gets the phone call from Moon Dong-eun saying, this is the end, thank you. And then Moon Dong-eun disappears. After all of that, we find out that Moon Dong-eun, her plan at the end was to take her life by jumping over the building in which everything happened. But in that moment, before she decides to, do-yeong's mother stops her and says, oh my god, when I think about this scene, it gets me emotional. He tells Moon Dong-eun, help me, save my son. I'm, do-yeong's mother. And Moon Dong-eun stunned, thinking, out of nowhere, this woman's there to save her from her suicide attempt. And Jae-yoojing's mother says, I talked to Sohee's mother and I find out what kind of person you are, what led you to these events. And she tells Moon Dong-eun, this can't be your end. Save my son. If this is your plan, what about his plan? Help me so he can carry on living. Joo-young's mother says, help my son out of this hell. And then finally Moon Dong-eun realizes that the pin code that was used to get into Joo-young's house was the prison number for the murderer. And Moon Dong-eun says, is this guy Jae-yoojing's hell? And she says yes. And then we get a 6 months time lapse in which Moon Dong-eun is planning out Jae-yoojing's revenge, in which he gets close to this influential woman that gave her the advice on how to transfer the prisoner to another jail, because Jo-young-ju's initial plan was to become a prison doctor, in which the killer of his father was there, but for obvious reasons, the warden's not going to allow the victim of one of the the offender to be there for obvious reasons. So Jo-young-ju is left devastated and even more angry. So as 6 months elapses, he's there waiting, depressed, for Moon Dong-eun to come back, checking the chessboard or the go board every so often, and then on the following night, whatever night it was, he sees that one of the pieces was moved on the board, and then he's shocked. He's like, okay, she's here. And then Moon Dong-eun comes in, and then they have that sweet scene in which they reconcile, and then we get the final scene in which they're together and Moon Dong-eun is helping Joo-young-ju with his revenge. And they managed to move the prisoner to the most harshest prison ever, where Jo-young-ju becomes the prison doctor there, in which they have that intense scene that the serial killer has seen that Jo-young-ju went and completed his promise to be there to torture him. And Moon Dong-eun is there as a volunteer teacher for a book club. And they have the ending in which it's their relationship, their dark clouds go over and they profess their love to each other, and we have the end. Such a powerful finale to the series. I hope I explained it well. It's, doing YouTube, you want to create the best content as possible. I'm doing this by myself. And, as a personal note, after many years of watching movies, K-dramas, and having my own opinions, I think to myself, why not? Why not do a YouTube channel? I'm trying to improve each time. Anyone who comes to the end of my video, leave comments below if I'm waffling too much or I should be a bit more concise. Anyway, this is the end. As I leave you, stay safe.